Hello, everyone. This is AOIBFM 101.5. And of course, the usual that we do here and one of our initiatives here to support educational opportunities and scholarships from different organizations. And today we have a very esteemed guest, Your Excellence from the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, the diplomat, Jeffrey Ellis. So welcome to our studio.
Humam, thank you. It's great to be here at American University of Iraq, Baghdad. It's great to be in this studio and to talk about our exchange programs today.
Thank you so much. So before we talk about our programs, we like me personally and our listeners would like to learn more about Jeffrey. So can you tell us about yourself and your mission here and responsibilities at the U.S. Embassy?
Sure, happy to. I've lived all over the United States. I've lived on the West Coast. I've lived in the Midwest. I've lived in the East Coast. So I feel I have some expertise about the U.S. I've served overseas in Afghanistan, in India, here in Iraq. I've also worked a lot. I've also worked a lot in German issues, on Pakistan issues. But very to the point, Humam, I myself participated in the Fullbright program. So from 20, I'm going to date myself now, from 2002 until 2003.
Which program?
I was an English teaching assistant
The FLTA?
In Germany.
Amazing.
So at that time we called it the ETA because it was the English teaching assistant. But that's why I'm excited to talk to your viewers about the foreign language teaching assistant position as well. But here in Iraq, I've been here since July of last year. I work in the embassy's public diplomacy section. And among the different things that we're doing, we're really focused on education. We're focused on employment. And then putting these together, we're also focused on our exchange programs.
As well. Okay, amazing. Look, speaking of exchange programs, of course, one of our main topics today is the Fullbright program. So can you give us like an overview of the Fullbright program generally so we can dive deep to maybe two specific ones?
Yeah, so the Fullbright program, we actually have a lot of opportunities available at different levels through the Fullbright program. So one is, of course, the Fulbright Foreign Student Program, which I'm sure we'll talk about a bit more in just a second. The Foreign Language Teaching Assistant Program that I just mentioned. We also have available for folks who are at a bit more of a senior level. We have the Humphrey Fellowships, which are kind of under the umbrella of Fulbright. Those are for kind of mid-career Iraqi professionals to go to the United States for almost 1 year, but to do graduate level studies at a U.S. university. They're not burdened with having to earn a degree, but rather they get to go there and really focus on their area of expertise during that year of academic study. And then we have another program called Fulbright Teaching Excellence. And that's a specific program that is for educators and for those who administer education at schools to go to the United States and, again, look at how things work in the United States in our kind of primary and secondary educations.
Amazing. So that's all generally the Fulbright program. Of course, one of our main ones is the Fulbright Foreign Student Program and the FLTA, because they are already open. The deadline is... The Fullbright Foreign Student Program is May 1st.
May 1st.
And the other one when?
June 30th.
Okay, so we want to talk about the Fullbright Foreign Student Program. So can you give us a general overview of that program?
Sure. So the Fulbright Foreign Student Program, it is geared towards young Iraqi professionals, relatively recent graduates, Iraqis who have their bachelor's degree and about 2 years of professional level experience. And this is a mechanism for them to go to the United States to earn their master's degrees. It is fully funded by the U.S. government. So that means that travel is covered, tuition is covered.
Daily expenses.
Daily expenses, exactly. There's like a monthly stipend that gets given to the scholars. And so over the course of their master's degree in the studies in the United States, which could go up to 2 years, those program participants, they get to fully immerse in the United States. studying in the United States, it's not just about being in the classroom every day. It's not just about writing papers. It's not about spring break.
Definitely.
And enjoying that and working hard, scholastically in the interim. But this is a proper immersion experience. So our Fulbright students, they will fan out across the United States. Some will go to big schools, some will go to small universities and colleges, some will go to New York City, some will go to the Midwest where my family is from. And they will have a chance to really experience life in the United States.
And learn about the culture.
Yeah, and that's the thing I just really want to kind of impress upon folks who are listening to this podcast or watching the video, is that this will be a transformative experience for the folks who are doing it.
Major step.
When I think about myself in 2000, I misspoke. I was actually it was 2003 to 2004 when I was when I was the English teaching assistant in Germany. But frankly, that was I learned a lot about Germany.
Yeah, about their people.
It wasn't just speaking the language, right?
Exactly.
It was understanding like much more deeply the mentality.
Living with them.
I had 2 German roommates. The three of us shared an apartment together. I got to know folks from other countries who were doing kind of like the equivalent of my program. So I got to know quite well some people from Spain, some people from Belgium, from France, from UK, etc.
Yeah.
And again, that's really what folks who get accepted into these programs will experience. They will live and study side by side with American students. There will not just be Americans. I'm sure there will be some Canadians, some Brits.
Yeah.
Who else?
Definitely.
A world of possibilities.
Exactly.
And also, it's not just a one-way exchange of information, right?
We represent our countries as well.
Exactly. So I like to think of, the phrase cultural ambassador.
Exactly. Definitely.
Like as somebody who studied in the United States, there were relatively few Iraqis in the colleges and universities I was at. When I earned my master's degree, there actually was a woman from Iraq who she had been working for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She was studying in the U.S. for a while, and then going onward from there to pursue her career further as an Iraqi diplomat. And she enriched our classroom. She enriched our discussions because she could speak with firsthand knowledge and that kind of nuance that's necessary to understand another country. And it was really fantastic.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's the cultural part of these programs. Now, when it comes for the ones who are actually want to participate in these programs and want to apply, they have a lot of questions. For example, the requirements and the eligibility criteria. So, can you tell us about them?
Yeah, I think. Well, first of all, visit our website. It's all there. I think just a couple things I would just kind of flag up front. One is that depending on the precise program, English proficiency at a certain level is required. But then again, for the Fulbright program, for instance, there is built in for a certain number of candidates a time span of about 6 to 8 months that they can improve their English abilities.
Exactly.
So if somebody applies for the program, the most important thing then to remember is that there's flexibility, but the common denominator is that people have to take the TOEFL or the IELTS.
TOEFL, in a minimum of 80, score of 80, I think.
Yeah. Again, our website has the full details.
Yeah.
But for those folks who are otherwise very qualified, but just might not have quite that level of English proficiency, again, they can go into, we call it long-term English. Again, this program that offers 6 to 8 months of dedicated English studies before they would then, start their proper enrollment in the U.S. university. So that's the first thing. The other thing I would mention too is for the applications, it's always needed to have some letters of recommendation.
3.
So 3 letters of recommendation to make sure that those things are submitted. So then that way
By the recommenders themselves.
by the recommenders, and to make sure that everything is complete from A to Z.
Yeah.
So then that way there's not some kind of basic grounds that might actually lead to a disqualification
Exactly.
if just
Or
one
hinder the
document is
application.
missing. The other thing I would just mention up front is that really, like, these applications, they ask for personal essays. And what I would really emphasize to folks who are interested is to really understand the personal part of it.
Yeah.
When somebody applies for these programs, when we read their application, and eventually if we interview people, we don't want to hear the same thing from every applicant.
Of course.
We want to understand who is the person applying, what specifically do they want with their lives. Don't tell us what they think that we want to hear. What we really want to hear is, who is this person? What do they hope to achieve by these studies, through these studies in the United States? How does this personally motivate them? What do they personally hope to get out of this?
Yeah.
And it's just I know this is an age of Chat GPT and other ways that people
AI generated tools.
Exactly. There's other, there's a lot of ways. I know sometimes folks, might say, well, my friend applied, so let me take that essay and let me
Plagiarism.
That
would
plagiarism.
Plagiarized.
Let me tweak that to my own needs.
Which leads to a disqualification.
Which also leads to a disqualification. Thank you.
So we just want to hear their personal stories, and like I've heard that the more honest you are in your personal statement, the better. And the same thing goes for the research objective, right?
Absolutely, because eventually what will happen is we will review the applications, and trust me, this stuff gets read top to bottom. It gets looked at, and then if an applicant advances to that interview stage, yes, we'll ask some basic questions to kind of frame the discussion. But then when we start to follow up and really kind of understand, who is this person? What do they want to do? So sometimes it can show if somebody is sincere or insincere.
Exactly.
In terms of what they're planning to do.
And how motivated they are.
Yeah.
It's all in the tone of voice and their face and their body language and everything. So you can detect if they're writing it or not.
Yeah, I think the other thing, just to also mention, again, for folks who hope to apply for these programs, we very much want to get the best qualified, the smartest, the brightest folks to the United States to have this experience. But it does not end there. Once they are done in the United States, we want them to come back to Iraq.
Exactly. To serve their country.
To serve their country, and we want people to take what they learned in the United States. We want them to enrich those classrooms in the United States, but when they're done, come back to Iraq and make change here.
Exactly.
That can be in the private sector. That can be in the public sector.
Regardless.
It can be in academia. This is an investment on our part in the long-term relationship between the United States and Iraq.
Definitely. When it comes to choosing a university, everyone, when we hear about the U.S., the first thing that comes in our mind is Harvard, Stanford, or MIT. So what do you want to say for the people or for the participants who are just aiming for these universities?
I think the United States is a big place. We have
4,000.
We have 4,000, might even be up to 5,000 colleges and universities. The United States has basically 1/3 of a billion people living in it. We have 50 states. We cover, I don't know how many time zones. It's five, 6, or 7. The United States is a big place, and we have a lot of opportunities. And so I understand the allure of the big name universities. But my friends, my family, everybody's studied, some people studied at the big names, and some people studied at, the lesser known universities and colleges. everybody got a good education. And the interesting thing is some of the most specialized programs in the United States are not at the big universities.
Exactly.
They're out there at the universities that or in colleges that perhaps folks in Iraq haven't heard of.
Mm-hmm.
So I think along with the flexibilities of going to a new country and experiencing life there, starting to see how Americans live, I think part of that flexibility is also being flexible in terms of
Academics.
how things work out,
Mm-hmm.
and being and be ready to be surprised that
I know.
that things will inevitably be different than expected,
Definitely.
and almost certainly in the positive way.
Yeah, of
So
course.
just being flexible and ready for that.
Amazing. So a student should aim for the program, because I know that regardless of the name of the university, some universities offer very specialized and strong programs compared to other universities, right?
Yeah, that, and I think another thing to keep in mind is also university size and program
Networking
size.
opportunities,
Networking
a
opportunities.
lot of factors.
There's a lot of factors. Sometimes it's helpful to be at a smaller college or a smaller university, because then, if there are fewer students, then each student gets a bit more attention and a bit
chance.
more time with the professors.
Amazing. So what about the FLTA? Is it the same? Has the same requirements or something?
Yeah.
Does it have like same essays, or what is the difference?
Yeah, thank you. It's fundamentally it's a bit of a different program. FLTA, it is, and there's no more direct enrichment of a U.S. classroom environment than those Iraqis who are willing to go to the United States through this program and teach Arabic to Americans.
Amazing.
Again, on one hand, I did this program in Germany,
You
teaching
taught
English.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, actually, in Wisconsin, we had an exchange teacher. I think it was through the Fullbright program. We had an exchange German teacher come.
Amazing.
And that spurred my interest in Germany, and eventually I became a German major at university myself. So
Amazing.
that's the kind of influence and positive impact that FLTA participants can have.
All programs, actually.
All
Not
programs.
Yeah.
Particularly on this program, so it takes so participants would go to the United States for about 9 or 10 months.
Exactly.
That's the full academic year. They would be expected to work basically part-time in an American school or university to help with the language instruction. On the other hand, at that institution, they would also have the ability to take classes. In fact, it's required that they take a class during that year on American studies.
American culture, language,
Exactly.
and history.
Yeah, exactly. To more formally kind of learn
About the country.
about the United States. So in terms of requirements, it's required that participants, applicants either be teachers or be aspiring to be teachers. They still have to submit essays. The essays for the FLTA program get a little bit more specific about,
Teaching.
what do they hope to achieve, etc.
Yeah.
But again, there's a lot for folks who are interested. In fact, there's an FLTA alumna here on the AUIB campus as well. So she's somebody to ask about in terms of her firsthand experience.
Definitely.
But it's a terrific program, and at the end of the day, it brings our two countries closer together and helps to
learn more. Because I know that a lot of people there in the U.S., they've learned some different information about Iraq. Because one of my friends, he was an ILPer, and when he went to Washington and he went to the university there as a visit, and he met a lot of American students, and they were asking, do you guys have schools, or do you go to the school ride in a camel, or do you have malls? So they don't have a full idea of our country. So I think it's our mission to let people know outside of Iraq that we need to represent our country in the best possible way, and we need to let people know that we're also educated and we have a lot of stuff.
Exactly. I know it's a little passé to say, but I'll say it again. Every participant will be a de facto ambassador for their country.
Yeah.
And there's no substitute for meeting an actual Iraqi who can actually show what this modern country is like,
Yeah.
what the issues are,
Yeah.
and to help, we call it myth busting, to help kind of explain, no, Iraq is not what we've read about in books. It's not what we've seen in movies.
Yeah.
It
And the same thing goes for the US or other countries.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's one like, yeah, definitely. So I think if we have more time, then I think 1 hour is not enough, or maybe more. But at the end of our conversation, is there any advice that you want to give for anyone who's interested in these programs, or anything that you want to mention that I forgot to mention?
Yeah, I think just one other thing I would mention is that we are very active on social media. So please, listeners out there, please follow the embassy on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Please start following us there. Also on X, formerly known as Twitter. The ambassador has a very active account. So these are 3 great places to look for information generally about what the United States is doing with Iraq in partnership together, but very specifically for deadlines, for opportunities, whether it's the opportunities that we've talked about today through Fullbright, or other opportunities, grant opportunities, ILEP, the list goes on.
Professional development opportunities.
Professional development. We do a lot of programming here in Iraq. Not everything we do involves going to the United States.
Yeah.
In fact, we have a lot of opportunities for women in technology.
The Heya Tech.
Exactly.
The one that I saw you did, the FLTA, was amazing.
Exactly. So we've got Heya Tech working with Hub 200. We've got American spaces. We've got one at the station. We've got one here at AUIB.
Yeah.
One opening soon at Makers of Baghdad. We have a lot going on. And so we can't reach out and personally contact each and every person. So instead, follow us on social media, and folks can expect to find out the latest, and they can find out particularly the deadlines.
Yeah.
And we even issue some reminders. Hey,
Yeah.
2 weeks left, 1 week left.
Yeah.
Get in your
that,
applications.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being in our studio and for this decent and beautiful conversation. And I think it's very beneficial for those of you who are listening or watching. Please apply for these programs. They are amazing. They are like a big step, and they will change your life. And if you want to check the social media of the U.S. Embassy, as Jeffrey has mentioned, and you can check the American Space social media if you want to learn more about the programs. And if you need anything, of course, you can check AUIB and AUIBFM social media as well. So thank you so much, and I'm so happy to talk to you. And maybe we can have you in the future for other programs.
Oh, I would love to come back. And Humam, I know it's right at the end of the blessed month of Ramadan.
Yeah.
So Eid Mubarak to everyone out there who's listening.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care. Thank you.